do screen replacements. This shot started off with this original footage here. You can see in the computer screen that I have a green mat in there with these triangles that are tracking points. So that's what we're going to start from. The other one I'm going to take a look at is this phone screen replacement here. It also started off with the same mat in the vertical position. To start off, I do need to track this footage so that we can put our content in here and it follow the camera movement. To do that, I'm going to select the footage and go here to Track Camera. Click on that, and After Effects will begin the tracking process. It's going to take a few minutes depending on the footage and then also your computer, but you'll see up here our 3D camera tracker. It'll give you a status of what frame it's on and an estimated time remaining. After Effects is done analyzing the footage, we're going to take a look at the camera tracker now. We have track points in there, but they're fairly small, so I'm going to increase the track point size, bring that up so we can take a look at what we've got. And I'm going to scrub through to see which ones stay through the entire clip, and that'll help me know which ones I can use. You can see as I hover over the shot, this target that is appearing. When it matches up any three of these points, it'll create a target. Now we can use more than 3 points, and for this, I want the target to be center or as close to the center of the computer screen as I can get. So I'm going to drag around this area here and select those points, and here's our target, very close to the center of the computer screen. So I'm going to right click on that target now, and we're going to create a solid and a camera for this. You'll see now down here in the timeline that our solid has been created and that a 3D camera has also been placed in there for you. So After Effects has analyzed the footage and it's done a good job of recreating the camera movement that's used in the shot. To take a look at this, I'm going to come over here to Active Camera and move to Top View, and we'll zoom out just a little bit. Here's the camera right here, or the virtual camera, and scrub through and you'll see the movement of that camera. And that is very similar to the way I shot this on the slider. Jump back to our active camera. So now any layer that we drop in there that is a 3D layer like this solid here, you can see that it has its 3D switch on, will react to that camera. So now we can scrub through and you'll see that that solid is tracking with the screen. The first thing that I want to do is make a change to this solid so that it's the same aspect ratio of the computer screen. So I'm going to do a Control Shift or Command Shift Y. That brings up the solid settings, and I'm going to adjust the width on this to 3840 by 2160, and that sets it at a 16:9 ratio, and hit OK on that. And now I'm going to scale it up to about 125%. And we'll make a few adjustments on the rotation. Having worked with this, I'm going to jump to the Z axis, this last number right here. And I'm going to hold down the Control key, and I'm just going to use the up and down arrows to start sliding that into place. And that looks pretty good. And now I'm going to jump to position. And I'm going to slide this over just a little bit. Again, using my up and down keys on that. And it does look like we need to scale up just a little bit more. So I'll jump back to scale and bring that up maybe to 127. We'll take a look at it. And let's play through that. I'm going to hide the solid real quick so we can take a look at the original footage. So the mat that I used is green, and I did that intentionally so that we could pull the key on it. But I'm also left with all of the tracking points. So we'll have to deal with that in two different ways. First thing, I will select the footage, go up to Effect, drop down to Keying, Keylight, and grab the eyedropper and select an area. I want to make sure this is pretty clean, so I'm going to jump down to Screen Matte here, and you'll see I got just a little bit of cleanup to do. Jump into my settings for Screen Matte, and I'm going to bring the clip black, which is the black area. I'm going to bring it up just a little bit to about 10, and then we're going to have to drop the clip white down quite a bit because you can see this area here. I don't want it disappearing on me, so we'll need to bring that down a good bit to clean all of that up. About right there, so we're about 65 on that. And now we can jump back to, I'm going to go to Intermediate Result. So I'm going to add a couple more effects in here. I'm going to go up to Effect, go back to Keying, and this Key Cleaner here, drop that in. And then after the Key Cleaner, we're going to go back one more time to Keying and go to Advanced Spill Suppressor. And you'll see that that really cleans up all of the spill on the computer. And we can change that from Standard to Ultra, and that looks a lot better. Now we need to get rid of the track points. And so we can use the track solid to remove the track points. To do that, we're going to need a copy of it. So I'm going to select it and Control D or Command D. I'm going to grab one of those, drag it down to right above the footage. Now what I'm going to do is this track solid, I'm going to use it to cut a hole in this footage. So where this green area is, I'm going to use that information to cut a hole. And what will happen is, let me hide this again, all of our track points will be removed. To do that, we're going to use Track Matte. Now, I do want to make this a little bit smaller because it's larger than it needs to be. So I'll go back to scale on this one and bring it down to, say, 124. And just take a look at that again. So you can see that it's fitting well inside of where we've keyed out, but it's covering up all of the track points. Now I'll come down to footage, and you'll see here my Track Matte column. I'm going to go to none on the footage. And what I'm doing is telling the footage to use this area to cut a hole. And I'm going to do Alpha Inverted Matte Track Solid. And now the track points are gone. Just to show you that we have a complete hole in this footage, I'm going to toggle the transparency grid on, and you can see this area now is transparent and we can put content in there. Click that back on, and now let's start working on creating our content. Again, we have this track solid, and we'll take a look at it, scrub through there, and you see that the track solid is tracking with the screen. So we can use this as our foundation for placing our content into the computer screen. I like to keep a copy of this just in case I need it. So again, I'm going to duplicate one more time, Control D, and I'm just going to grab a copy of it, bring it down here below everything, and just turn off the visibility for it. We'll have it if we need it later. This new version of it, I'm going to go to it. I'm going to pre-compose it. I'm going to right-click on it and pre-compose because I want this to be in its own comp. And I'm going to call this Computer Screen Content. We're going to leave all attributes in the computer screen replacement. Hit OK. And you'll see now that it is a composition. We're going to double-click on it, open it up, and now this area we can place our computer screen content in here. I already have some content that I captured from my computer. I'm going to drag that down in, drop it in. It's a little bit smaller than it needs to be, so we're going to scale that up to 200%. That'll work. Now when I go back to my original composition, you'll see there our content is in the computer screen. I want to take this content now and I want to drag it beneath the footage so that what ends up happening is we get a little bit of that bevel back on the edges here. And now we can play through that and take a look at it. Now let's take a look at the phone screen replacement. This one is a little bit different. One thing is that we have the thumb that is in front of the screen, so we definitely have to pull the key on this, and we'll have to use a different method to get rid of the tracking points. With the original footage selected, I'm going to come over here to Track Camera, click on that, and let After Effects do its job. All right, After Effects is done analyzing that, and we have some really good tracking points here. You can see a bunch of targets popping up. So to create the tracking plane that I want, I'm going to start dragging around these points and collecting as many of them inside the screen as I can. And there we go. We're pretty close to dead center on that target. Going to right click on it and do Create Solid and Camera. Going to make some adjustments to this solid just like we did earlier. Control Shift Y or Command Shift Y. And I want to set this one up to be a 9:16 aspect ratio. So I'm going to do 1080 by 1920 and hit OK on that. And definitely going to need to scale this down. Bring it way down and get that pretty close. We'll go make some adjustments on the orientation. I'm selecting that footage, hitting R on the keyboard, and that brings up orientation and all the rotation properties. And let's see what we can do on matching this up a little bit. Now, the process I just went through, I went through X, Y, and Z on each of these orientation properties, and I kept going back and forth and adjusting them till I got this matching up pretty closely on these corners here to the tracking points. And now I'll reposition this just a little bit, bring it over, and we can adjust the scale now. It looks like I need to slightly decrease this just a little bit. I'm going to use the Control key to bring this down just a little bit. Then I'm going to deconstrain these properties right here, and on my X-axis, increase that out just a little bit. And it looks like we're real close on that. May come back to it in just a moment. I'm going to hide this track solid for right now because we need to pull the key on the original footage. So select the original footage. Let's go up to Effect, Keying, Keylight, select that. Let's grab that eyedropper, jump in there, select that green. We can check the screen matte on that. And looks like just a little bit of cleanup right there. So go into the screen matte properties. I will bump the black up just a little bit to be on the safe side, and then we'll bring this down. We'll try 80%. Oh, I'll need to go a little bit more, maybe 70. All right, let's drop it down to 65. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then I'm going to drop this to intermediate results. I'm going to go ahead and finish this out with the key cleaner. And then we're going to drop in, again, the spill suppressor. And let's take a look at Ultra on that. All right. We've pulled the key, and just like last time, we're left with these tracking points, but we're going to need to get rid of them a different way because I can't use the track solid like we did as a alpha matte because it will remove the thumb, and we don't want that. So that's not going to work. What we will do is on the original footage, we're going to draw a mask around these, avoiding the thumb, and then we're going to track that mask. So with that footage selected, I'm going to grab the pen tool, jump up here, and then just start drawing this mask. And close that out. And now we're going to jump into our original footage, go to mask, and we'll just right click on that track mask. It brings up our tracker over here, and it looks like based on where I am in the footage, I'm going to have to track it forward and backwards. So we'll track forward the first time. So After Effects tracked everything forward. Now I need to jump back to this spot right here and track backwards. All right, After Effects is done with tracking that. Let me grab my selection tool. So we're going to go in here to our mask and change that from add to subtract. It removes all of our tracking points and brings back the rest of the shot. And now we're ready to start adding our content in. I'll use this original track solid here to place our content that we want in the screen. I'm going to turn that on. I'll bring it down below our plate, our original footage here. We are missing a little bit of space here on the edges, so I'm going to jump into there and scale that just a little bit more. And now I'm going to pre-compose this. Select it, right-click, pre-compose, and label this as phone screen content. Going to leave all attributes in there and hit OK. And then I'm going to open this up, and I have already created some content just to speed things up. My incoming call right there. And that fills up the screen, just a normal 1080 by 1920 composition there. And now when we jump back to our original composition, now we take a look at it, and there is our phone call coming in on our screen. So any content can be placed in there. Just create it and drop it into that composition there, and it will show up in the phone. I hope these techniques have been useful. For more on After Effects and editing in Premiere, take a look at my other tutorials.